Café and Networking Podcast promotes entrepreneurs, business experts throughout the world. I'm Tom Reaoch, known as the King of Networking, podcasting, connecting people from my studio in Brazil. Today we talk with James Heppner, and he's joining us from Vancouver, Canada. James Heppner is a strategist, business and life coach, founder of the weekly Wins and Losses podcast. He helps people in their journey to embrace all of life, both wins and losses equally. So James, you say leadership begins and is established through your primary relationships. What do you mean by that?
Gosh, Tom, and firstly, thanks for having me on the show. What I mean by that is activate the human's relational interest and you change the world. Think about it like this. One day you're going for a walk, a little river going by, slight little breeze, a bit of a current, and you see up ahead, you see these things floating towards you. Not sure what they are. You take off your sandals and you kind of get closer to the water because you're curious, what are these things? And you become aware that these are two bodies floating towards you. What do you do? What do you do? Well, you go straight in. What would any good human do? You go in and you try to take these two, and you do. And, you know, it's two bodies. You have two hands, one for each hand, perhaps. The current's tugging and pulling. However, you manage to get the two out. And you're kind of tired, to be honest. And you sit back on the bank and you feel like you have just life and you brought some goodness to life, and it feels nice. However, before you doze off into a little bit of a snooze, you have a bite of a crisp apple, and then you see something, and it's reminiscent of what you just saw. It's not two, but it's four.
Four?
And what do you, four bodies floating towards you. And what do? You do the exact same thing. You walk into the river, take your two hands, and guess what? The current picked up a little, the breeze has picked up a little, and you try to muscle these four to shore. And you know, you do everything you physically can, and sure enough, you somehow you manage to pull these four to the shore. This time you're beyond tired, you're exhausted. Physically, you have maxed out. You've maxed out. And you look and you think to yourself, holy smokes, like, Lord knows if we got more coming, this is not going to be fun. So you decide you can have a little nap. But before the nap happens, well, you know what's coming after. What went from 2 went to 4, and when 4 goes to 8. Now you're confused. You're angry.
Right.
You're thinking, how could this be the good news? Listen, I'm trying to make a difference. This is not making a difference. So ladies and gentlemen, we all come to a place in life when we're faced with something where unless we accept it, we will run amok. If we want to empathize with the problem, these bodies are coming and I can't make better constantly. And if we want to start blaming things other than fully embracing and accepting that this is what's happening,
right?
Meaning we have to empathize with the possibility versus empathizing with the problem. You know, and when we do that, we begin to realize there's something else we can do. We can go upstream,
right?
And we can see where all the bodies are coming from. What's creating it? You know, when I think about it, we as humans, we can live without success, but the soul cannot live without meaning.
Right.
And so when we go upstream, what are we doing there? Well, people find me because guess what? Things just aren't working anymore. And they find me because I'm someone that can help them. They call me the self-help hacker. I'm someone that helps them find the master switch so we can flip it. You know, they find me when they're exhausted. They've been to the seminars, they've read the books, they've done the courses. You know, here's what's interesting. When life has presented us challenges and things that we think are problems, and when we sort for good and bad, right or wrong, and we realize that that just doesn't work anymore, we become exhausted and we become in tune with that there's something else that we must be about. And that other thing is to go upriver. That's the other thing. We must go upriver. You know, here's the thing. Life sends us situations, and it's simply an invitation for us to engage. But if we engage by putting Band-Aids over it, it's never going to help the situation. These bodies floating, these are life situations. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. In your life, these are situations coming towards you, okay? These bodies coming towards you unless you accept that life will come at you, because that's what life does. Life is the good news. We must be about eventually going upriver to do the work that uncovers that master switch that changes the game. Think about it like this.
And to that point, I see that because all rivers start somewhere.
All of them.
And most rivers that I've seen, they start with a trickle.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find the trickle that's causing the river to rush.
So good. To get beneath what's causing the river to rush. I can't help but think in life, how often don't we sort, like I said, good from bad, rich or poor, wrong, right? And then, of course, the win-lose. That's what everything's attached to.
Right.
The win-lose, right?
Life becomes a scoreboard.
Scoreboard. And if you want to live scoreboard living, what it'll look like is you're always going to deny half of life. So if you're only winning, the scoreboard says, I am gaining when I win. When in relation, you gain when you do both sides of life.
Right.
You know, when we activate the human's relational interest, like I said earlier, by keeping all the facts intact, both of a win and the loss, then we gain. And what's so interesting is you change not only the human's outer world, but most importantly, you change the human's inner world. I heard your story a little while ago, cancer survivor, and the doctor said, what are you going to do about your inner world? What are you going to do? Honestly, when we activate that outer world and the inner world, we get to live, perhaps for the first time, fully alive.
And to the point of your win and loss, it's about people. It's not about things.
Always.
It's not about companies. It's not about product. Everything is people.
And so I want to leave your listeners all with a gift. And every one of them here will know where they're at when it comes to where they're at within the river of their life. Are you still trying to pull bodies out of the river? Are you tired, or are you merely tired, or are you completely exhausted? And you will make a choice. If you are exhausted and you want to find someone that can help you find the master switch, I do one-on-one work, and I'll be honest, it's work, but it's light work that deals with becoming open to discover what the good news is behind it all. So your choice to go upriver, to find me, is for one-on-one coaching, or you can find me for a weekly wins and losses community call happening every Friday, no charge, where you get to have an experience, where you get to come forward if you like, or you can just observe. So if you like, you can share a win and you can share a loss of your life. And what we don't do is we don't change the facts. A loss, meaning how you language it, is exactly that. It just belongs. So instead of win or lose, there's gray. In the middle, there's gray. What we want to do in life, we want to end the week strong. Who doesn't want to end the week strong? Who doesn't want to start the next week fully charged, ready for courageous action, instead of fearing losses, realizing that losses, that's half of life.
Right.
Who wants to walk past 50%? We all hear things, acres of diamonds. Who wants to walk past these things constantly? So weekly wins and losses, community call. If you come, you will have an experience. People from around the world check in again. Friday, no charge, weekly wins and losses call. And or if you're wanting to do some really in-depth work and you want to go one-on-one work with me, of course, therein lies, go to www.jamesheppner.com, JamesHeppner.com, and you'll find me there for one-on-one coaching. Reach out to me and we'll have a little discussion. But whatever it ends up being, if you want to do coaching, just come, enjoy, and experience the gift of both the win and the loss, because they're all for gain. Gain for equal gain. Not one for the other, but both for the good of what they are designed for.
Very good, James. And thanks for sharing that with us today.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me. It was great, Tom.
So for our audience, if you want to find the trickle and go with the flow, follow the current and not swim against it, it's James Heppner, JamesHeppner. That's jamesheppner.com. And his Wins and Losses podcast, which is jamesheppner.com/podcast. Café and Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information on their website, focusmi.com. Thanks for listening until the next time here at Café and Networking Podcast.